Hi everyone, it's Lindsay. Today I have a video for you on 5-minute Father's Day cards using one stamp set. I'm going to be using the Joy Claire Dad's Day stamp set to make all of my cards today, and very few products too as well. So these are very quick, easy cards. Now I'm starting out with a 4 1/4 by 5.5 piece of white cardstock. I've got the little You Are Terrific Dad stamp that's in that stamp set, and I've just placed that in the bottom right hand corner of that panel. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I'll be doing a little bit of alcohol coloring here, and I've stamped that down a few times just to get it nice and dark. Now in this there's a Happy Father's Day stamp as well, and I'm going to stamp this on card bases. So I'm making 3 different cards today, so I'm going to stamp it on the inside of 3 card bases. I'm using a black dye ink for this just because I don't want to have to double stamp this. I want that nice rich black color the first time I stamp it, so I like to use my black dye ink for this. I'm stamping it at an angle so it travels up from the bottom left to the top right a little bit. And then I'm going to start stamping or coloring in this little image that I've went ahead and stamped out. So on that little golf tee, I'm just going to add some flicks of green to create a little grassy mound here around it. I also came up from that green a little bit and added some flicks of blue for a nice little sky. And that's it for the coloring on this. Now with a circle die, I believe this is about a 2-inch circle here, I'm going to just cut out the bottom right hand corner of this card panel that I've created here. Now from a black piece of cardstock, I'm going to use that same circle die and also one just a little bit larger and cut out a nice frame by inlaying the 2. I'll run that through my Big Shot machine, and then I'll have a nice black cardstock frame that fits around that. Now on the leftover portion from that panel, I'm going to go ahead and run this through with the Swiss Dots embossing folder from Cuttlebug. I'll run that through my Big Shot machine like I would any other embossing folder, and I think this is an embossing folder everybody might have. I think it's the first one I ever got, so I've had it forever. I don't use it very often, but it's one of my favorites, and it's a classic. So I went ahead and embossed that panel, and now I just put it onto an A2 top folding white card base that I stamped that Happy Father's Day on the inside. I used some fun foam and double-sided adhesive just to give that some nice dimension. Now on this cardstock frame that I've created, the black frame, I'm just going to put some glossy accents around a portion of it. I'm not going to be using all of it because I'm just going to frame out that section that I've cut out. So I'll go ahead and overlay that right onto that circle that I've die cut in the bottom right hand corner. Then with my scissors, once this is dry, I can just trim that off. And then I'll have a nice framed little section that I've cut out. And that's going to give me a little bit of separation between my 2 die cut panels now, because I'm going to be placing that one that I've colored right back in that die cut spot that it came from. So I'll use my little scissors here. I'm just very carefully trimming that out so it's flush with both edges. And then on this portion that I die cut and colored on, I'm just going to place this down with some double-sided adhesive. So it's going to be 2 different heights, which will also give it a little bit more separation and a little bit more interest to a really plain card. So I'll go ahead and line that up with that bottom corner and place that right in that die cut opening. Now between everything, I'd say this card was about 4.5 minutes to make. I did kind of mix and match here whenever I was doing all of these cards. I stamped everything at once, die cut everything at once. So this card was about 4.5 minutes altogether. There's a look at that finished card. Very simple, very easy, very quick, but very cute. Now for my next card, I'm going to be using that little popsicle image. Now I'm just going to be repeatedly stamping this on a piece of 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white cardstock. I'll use my Misty, and I'm also going to be using Memento ink because I will be coloring these in with my alcohol markers. Now I'm using my Misty here so I can do some double stamping. That little mustache is pretty solid on this little ice cream guy, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure I got a nice stamping. Now I'm just going to move that over in my Misty and repeatedly stamp this all the way across that panel. Now I do want to say that this little guy could also, his face could be cut out and used for summer cards for your kids and things like that, or back to school cards, a little tag attached to a popsicle, or for the end of school, a little tag attached to a popsicle that says stay cool this summer. So a lot of things you can do with this stamp that aren't necessarily Father's Day cards. So I went ahead and stamped that 4 times across the card base, and then I'm going to color in all of these guys with my alcohol markers. Now to make this go a little bit quicker, I am only using 1 color on everything except the sticks. The sticks I'll use 2 colors just for a little bit of variation. But on the actual popsicles, I'm using a green, a orange, and then a blue. Now these are all very vibrant colors. I do need to add just 2 layers of ink to each one of these for a nice saturation, and then I'll come back to that green to finish off the pattern. Now on the top part, I have stamped "You're the Coolest" Pop in the 3rd little ice cream guy that I stamped, just for the sentiment on this card. Now on the top of the popsicles, there's like a little chocolate part. I'll be coloring those all in with 1 color of brown. Now this does take just a little bit of time, so I would say this was more at the 5.5 minute mark, because I needed to add a few layers of ink to really get that a nice deep brown color and really get it evened out. But keeping these all 1 color really helped me save some time here. So I'll just finish up this last little chocolate one, and you can see I'm going towards the top of the paper in a vertical motion, and then I turn it and go in a horizontal motion just to get rid of all those streaks. But that finishes off the coloring for this card. Now if you wanted to take it a step further like I am here, I'm going to take in my white gel pen and add just little lines here and there on each one of these popsicles just to make them look more rounded. This gives a nice rounded effect. It's something I've picked up from the girls from the different design teams I'm on, and they do an awesome job of it. I'm not great at placing these yet. I'm trying to figure it out a little bit more, but I'm just placing them here and there to give a more rounded effect to all the popsicles, the little chocolate, and the sticks. It also gives a nice shine effect if you ever want to color in something shiny. Now on the back of this, I'm just going to put some double-sided adhesive. This is very strong stuff. It's the 1/2 inch tape that I'm using here. I'll pull off the backing paper, and then I'm just going to mount that onto an A2 top folding white note card. Now I have stamped the Happy Father's Day in this one. I just stamped it in the center and going horizontally as well. Now on this last one, I don't have a whole lot of footage of this. I actually finished it off camera, but it's a super simple card to make. So I've got the little World's Greatest Father, but it actually has a farter right above that, but it's crossed out. So this one probably isn't for everybody. I think it's funny, but I have a kiddish sense of humor as well too. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this on an A2 white cardstock panel that I have just cut down to size, and I'm stamping this again with my Misty and again with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Then I'll be using some greens, some blues, and oranges just to quickly color in this little ribbon. Now once that was colored in, I actually went ahead and cut out the center of this panel with a stitched rectangle die. Now the area around that I used as a frame, so I just quickly colored that in with a teal ink pad to give it a nice little bit of color and separate it from the inside portion. Now the frame I popped up with some fun foam and double-sided adhesive on an A2 top folding white card base. And then for the inside panel, I went ahead and added a little bit of the enamel accents from Ranger in white to the actual farter little gas that's coming out and crossing out the word farter. I went ahead and added some enamel accents to that for a little bit of dimension. And then I just placed that panel down right in between that frame on the card base with double-sided adhesive. So again, using that dimension for added texture and a little bit more interest as well. But there's a look at all 3 finished 5-minute cards. And again, I only used the one Dad's Day stamp set to complete all of these, and very little products as well. Now the Joy Claire Stamps design team, we're all using this great stamp set today, so be sure to head over to the Joy Claire blog and check out all of their terrific ideas as well. On the left side of your screen, you'll notice a few different links you can click on. The top will take you to a video that you might enjoy watching next. The bottom left will take you to the supply list for these projects over on my blog. And the bottom right will subscribe you to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!